DK has requested a trade, and we are, entertaining that. We are talking to a ton of teams, taking offers, seeing what that looks like, and yeah, here we go.
Hello, John.
How we doing, boys?
We're good. It's a little chilly here. We're in the shade, and the wind is
Yeah, it
blowing
looks
hard.
really rough down there, partner.
You see sun behind us, not on us. That's the key
Okay.
here. Yeah,
Okay.
a little chilly, but we're fighting through it. We're fighting through it, John. So good to have
Hey,
you
energy
with us.
level's high, like way better than last week, I promise.
Okay.
The driver that picked me up at the airport late Sunday night was like, "Hey, listen to your radio show. You sounded really tired."
Wow,
Really?
that's nice.
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
I was like,
very
"Well, I
nice of
was.
him.
I actually was."
Did you say thank you for your unsolicited opinion? I appreciate that.
No, he's a great guy.
Is there anything going on up there?
Yeah. We were scrambling for topics to talk about. I guess we just dive right in, John, and talk about the news that came out surrounding DK Metcalf requesting a trade. Can you tell us what led to this, and is this a relationship that, in your opinion, is salvageable?
I thought you wanted to talk about the new relievers for the Mariners.
Yeah, we just had one
No.
on.
We
wanna-
can do that later.
No baseball talk. No, that's
We're
a different show.
no small talk.
That's a
We're gonna
morning
get
show.
right to
Okay,
it.
got it. Yeah, no, I think everything's in a very cordial, professional place. Obviously DK has requested a trade, and we are, entertaining that. We are talking to a ton of teams, taking offers, seeing what that looks like, and yeah, here we go. I mean, you always have to do the thing to understand here is that, our responsibility to, Jody Allen, the 12s, first and foremost is doing what's absolutely best for the organization, A, and then B, what's best for the player. Hopefully, both those things merge and it's an ideal situation. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Hopefully in this situation it does, and that would be great. But worst case scenario, I mean, we have a amazing, explosive, powerful athlete playing receiver for us again in 2025. So we'll see where this goes.
Yeah, and John, I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about the approach, but anything in your past that got you ready for this? Was it a surprise? And then, is it something that you've been through before and maybe a different degree? But as far as requesting a trade, tell us about sort of your history with that and what your approach was.
Yeah, the requesting a trade. That's a great question. I'd have to go back.
Yeah,
file a fax.
I don't mean to
figure
put you
that
on
out.
the
But
spot.
no, I mean the negotiation part though with the number of teams. God rest his soul, Ted Thompson. When I worked with Ted in Green Bay, and I was really the point man for the Brett Favre negotiation. So big time negotiations like that. Yes, I've been through the communication and trying to keep things as tight as you possibly can, and trying to be as professional as you can, and through the whole process, and that's how we'll conduct ourselves here.
So, John, I guess from the outside, you look at a player who requests a trade, meaning they're dissatisfied on some level, whether it's financial, whether it's the offense, who knows? Well, actually why that is, and I don't know if you can shed some light onto what led to DK's dissatisfaction, but is there any fear that if you can't find a deal that's suitable to you and the franchise, that you have a disgruntled player on the roster that could be a negative, or do you feel like, no, the relationship is good, and if he does play out the final year of his contract, we have no fear that he's going to be in 100% as he's always been?
No, I think DK's a very good communicator. He's a guy that understands the business. He's a businessman himself, so. I think he understands that we're going to head down this road. He understands that we're going to do what's best for the organization, and that if things don't fall, the way he may want, that he's there's a good chance he could end up being here. And so, and at that point, we all like turn the corner and move forward. So, yeah, that's the way it works. He's through this whole process, he's been extremely professional and respectful.
Yeah, and I think, John, what a lot of people think is, well, if he does end up being, let's say the scenario is you can't find a trade partner and, he is on the team. I think a lot of people are thinking that, like he's going to be pouting the entire time or what. I don't know what people are thinking.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just, look, he's a professional. You're a professional. You're, like you said, you're doing, what's best for the team. But, he still has pride. He's putting stuff on tape and everything, and it will, if it gets to that point, I mean, that's absolutely doable, right? I mean, I think a lot of people think that, the entire relationship's blown up.
No, we have a new offensive staff. They're extremely excited about coaching him. We've obliged in the fact that we will go out and listen to people and see what's out there for him. Other than that, the guys here are really excited to coach him and move forward.
Is there any kind of deadline for you that, all right, we need to know one way or another? He's on the team, he's not on the team. Is that before the draft happens because maybe it involves draft compensation, or is it just is there no deadline to it?
Yeah, I would say before the draft. You definitely want to know what's going on before draft time because he's such an important part of our team, the organization, the offensive philosophy that these guys want to move forward with. Our new coaching staff. We want to know how we're going to compensate for his loss if he's not with us.
Hey, John, last one for me. We'd love to get to Tyler Lockett and all the things that he's meant to this franchise and everything. But as far as DK, what's a comp for him in the NFL? I mean, I just feel like there's not very many 6'4", 235-pound monsters like him, and he seems to be like kind of a one of a kind type of player.
Yeah, he's like Eddie George playing wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, no, he's just been this. He's just I'm not sure if people understand the work ethic that he has. I mean, he's a great worker. He's a pro. He's like, he shows up all the time. It's just really important to him, and I get where he's coming from to a certain extent. He's 27 years old. He has very high expectations for himself, and he should, So, there's no harm, no foul. We'll get through this. This too shall pass, they say.
Okay.
Hey, John, last one on this.
But he's also like, remember, this guy's like, when we talk about the business part, like this guy's a very successful business. I mean, Lululemon and I don't know if you guys have seen the Hulu community. I mean,
yeah,
he knows what he's doing. He's a very, very, very talented individual.
Hey, just a last one on this, John. As far as the timing of that news coming out, seemed to be a big talking point. With Tyler, you guys were celebrating Tyler as a Seahawk in that move, and we'll talk about that. But then a half hour later comes this bit of news with DK. I don't know what's behind that. If that gets leaked the night before, and this is told by his reps, hey, wait till tomorrow. And I don't know if his reps knew that you guys were making the announcement. Can you clear up anything about the timing of how this happened?
Yeah, probably not intentional, but very disappointed in the timing. We wanted this to be a very special day. We wanted it to be, Tyler Lockett Day. We've had cap casualty, very famous, extremely important legends that have been cap casualty individuals that we, probably could have handled a little bit different in the past. So we wanted to handle Tyler's situation as classy as we possibly could. So yeah, we all were very excited for to have this really nice day for Tyler, to celebrate Tyler, and I'd be lying if I felt bad for Tyler. The TV's all about DK instead of Tyler Lockett, and it kind of actually goes, it correlates with his whole career. I mean, this guy is one of the most underrated wide receivers in NFL history. He is, one of the most amazing people, spiritual, hardworking. He's a piano player, poet, punt returner, receiver, realtor. Like, this guy's just, and he's just such an amazing person, and it was cool to be able to have our, we got on the Zoom yesterday morning, and I don't think he had a tear, but I had a little tear, and it's very special to me personally, because I was with his dad when he was a rookie in Kansas City, and then tried signing him here in 2000. Took him out in Kirkland, his dad, and we had a little fish dinner up at Kirkland somewhere, and then when I went to the Redskins, we signed him with the Redskins. So, I've been around. It's pretty unique to be able to spend that much time with, a father and a son like that, and it was just, it was pretty neat to get a text from Kevin, his father, last night saying, hey, you and Tracy will always, hold a special, place in the Lockett's heart. It was really neat, and to be able to trade up for him, with the Redskins that day was a huge deal for us. We had to get a pass rusher, so it was like, we got to get Frank Clark, and then we got to get Tyler Lockett on our team, and I just remember the excitement everybody had. So yeah, and what a phenomenal career.
Yeah, and it's rare for you to trade up, right? And just a absolute...
It's actually not. That's overblown.
Oh, is that right? I thought this was the only one.
No, we move around a lot, up and down.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, it's very cool. And what do you think? I was just asking Paul Moyer, we have on, and he was a defensive back. And what do you think it was that? I mean, we talked about his personality and everything, but on the field, what was it that made Tyler such a good receiver? I always thought that, like, his acceleration, the timing on to run away from a defensive back and to a ball, and just the way he varied his speed and things like that. What in your mind, what made him so special?
Yeah, I think his intelligence and his self-awareness of what kind of player he was every single year. He changed up his game. He knew exactly what he was when he came in, and he was running 4.36, something like that at the combine, and phenomenal punt returner. I mean, the guy could catch punts with his eyes closed. I mean, and then the craftiness over the years to figure out, okay, to create the separation inside, and then I better get down so I don't get smoked by that Cam Chancellor looking safety. You know what I mean? Just to be able to. Yeah. Just to be able to understand where he was in his career and how to take care of his body, and I have to say, like, tons of credit to Sam and Strick and their staff. Those guys have done a really great job over the years of really taking care of all of our players, but with Tyler too, like the last, hey, Tyler's a guy that knows his body real well, so. Helping him through everything he had going on and managing him during the week. Those guys did a phenomenal job.
John, that was a move. I think we all, just looking at the cap hits for individual players and looking at where this team was, as we talked about, it seemed like that was an obvious move that was going to happen.
That wasn't like that wasn't like, we just called Tyler up yesterday morning. I mean, Tyler and I had a conversation, about a month ago, and I felt bad down the combine. We do this press conference, and then we do this thing off to the side, and I got a direct question like, is Tyler Lockett going to be on the roster next week? And I was like, total panic mode. Like, I don't know.
Well, and the point being,
I don't like the question.
Get
out of my face.
Even though you knew it wasn't sprung upon you, it wasn't a surprise. It doesn't make it any easier to break that news to somebody who's just such a class act and has been such a big part of this organization. But Dave brought up, we talked to Paul, and Paul, we were talking to him about this, and he brought up, hey, maybe, it doesn't mean the relationship's over on the field. Maybe they work out a deal that's more palatable to the team. And Tyler, I don't know where his head's at, where your head's at. Is that the world?
Yeah, we did it with Dis and Jamal and Diggsy last year. It's like, hey, go out, see what's shaking, and then, we'll just stay in touch, and we'll see where it goes. And so I had that conversation with Tyler yesterday. I do think Tyler's going to have strong interest because he's, such a strong leader and still a very productive player.
Hey, tell us about Ernest Jones. There's a little bit of news about knee surgery. Sure didn't look like he had a hurt knee the way he played last year.
No, he just had a little cleanup after the season. Not much of a big deal. He's here. He's working with Strick and the staff and our strength conditioning guys with Ivan and all those guys. So, yeah, he's here, getting ready. And, we continue to have conversations with his representatives and, hopefully we can knock this out pretty soon.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans saw that went, but then as he pointed out on Twitter, well, it didn't impact, when I came over and helped change things. So it was, he played like a madman out there, and hopefully that's something that continues. As far as the combine goes, did you see anything out there that changed the direction of where you thought you might head, or did you any surprises in a good way, bad way out there? Give us a review on the combine.
Yeah, it goes both ways. From a performance standpoint, if you're talking about the workouts in particular, but we really, this weekend is a weekend we'll sit down and actually really go through and grade them all on film and everything. But seeing it live is always very important. But the week is really, like I told you guys last week, league meetings, getting through the media sessions, talking to other teams, talking to agents, and getting a lay of the land, and that's really for us is on the pro side more is what's most important about the week, and then the physicals, the medical grades. We always get the medical grades and go in there and look at our board that we created a couple of weeks ago, and now look at this thing and okay, might not be able to have that guy, and it's always a big bummer, but we'll work through it. We'll get the doctors in headlocks and let us have guys.
Yeah. So just kind of take us through the timeline. I mean, obviously you're working with your guys. We talked about Ernest Jones and DK and all that, but as far as is it visits next, and just kind of take us through the timeline from now until the draft.
Yeah, we just the last 2 days, kind of a recap with our coaching staffs. Now they've had a chance to catch up on free agency, so be able to sit down with those guys and make sure, we have a priority in place, because you have to be. This next probably call it 5 to 7 days is really the most important time where you have to be able to pivot, these huge pivots at whatever position, and so you have to have scenarios, contingency plans, set up, because you don't know where the markets are necessarily going to go. At the combine, it's very vague. It could be a player that is a $4 million player to a $10 million player. Well, then all of a sudden, that $4 million player that you could go to 16 really quick. So, 2 years ago, we didn't go into free agency thinking that Draymond Jones would be a first day guy in free agency for us. The market just kind of spoke to us, and we pivoted and went to him. And so so we got through those meetings, and we're setting up our priorities, our scenarios, and then really spending the weekend studying the combine, more draft, more board study, and then getting ready for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the exclusive negotiating period, where we can, all right, let's go. Now that gets really serious. Okay, this is where we're at. Where are you guys at? Now we can make the offers, and then that's where you just have to be super pliable and be able to pivot in a very fast manner.
Hey, just as far as the combine, the draft, and all that goes, we've talked to so many of the draftniks, the draft analysts out there that say this draft's
incredibly
deep. Are they
niches or nicks? Nicks or
niche?
niche?
I think
is
it's
it
a
niche?
I'm going with
Draft
Knicks.
Knicks.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will correct me on the text, but they've talked about how the interior lines on both sides. It's very deep defensive tackle, very deep interior O-line. It's not deep at quarterback. It's not deep as far as wide receivers, and running back is very deep. Did all of that remain true in your opinion after you went through the whole combine process?
It did, yeah. It definitely did. It was it stayed true. I would say there's a couple quarterbacks that threw the ball very well down there. That it's okay, let's let's make sure we spend more time at the school and revisit and have our coaches really spend a lot of time in there. Also some offensive linemen. Like I said earlier, there's some guys that like perform on that day well. Sometimes they don't. So, what are the questions that we need to keep getting answered throughout the spring, and where do we need to what do we really need to focus on, and who are the 30 visit players that we're going to bring in to make sure that we spend extra time from a psychological, medical, coaching, teaching, learning aspect.
So this is probably more of like a draft day type of question, but like let's say
like the movie draft day where he makes love to his salary cap person and goes to a funeral and
yeah,
that literally has never ever
Super
happened
Bowl.
to me.
Yeah, we interviewed Kevin Costner. That was
Did you really?
Cool.
Yeah, at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was the Super Bowl.
Wow.
You guys won. I don't know if you remember that. You remember when you guys won? Super
No,
Bowl?
no.
Yeah. Anyway, do you ever
Remember when
get
you were
like
the Beatles?
That was cool.
The love you,
Dumb.
the love you lose is really the love you gain.
Is that true?
Is that true?
How many
I don't know if you
people
guys saw the
understand
one
what we're
last
doing?
week, but it was phenomenal. Yeah.
Maybe I just want to ask my question, but no, I mean, do you get guys that are, I mean, it's you only have 30 visits, and are guys like kind of battling over, I mean, that group of, you got a bunch of guys around the table. Hey, who are we going to bring in? And
Yeah.
do you ever get guys that are like, no, I want this guy, and how do you resolve those?
Yeah,
things?
Trent Kirshner, Matt Berry, and Aaron Heinlein do a great job working with our coaches and the training staff to really figure out like who are we really honing in on, and what do we need to figure out by the time we get there, and so who do our coaches need to spend extra time with if there's concerns about learning or character or medical or just anything. And heck, we'll even have Dave Pearson spend time with guys, see what they're like,
Oh, come on
Oh
now.
man,
Why would you do that to them?
yeah,
That doesn't seem right.
poor kids.
Yeah. He's a learned scholar, this man.
That's
right.
right. Something like that. John, we appreciate you, man. It's great to catch up with you, even from a distance. Can't wait to see you in person next week.
Yeah, it'd be great
And,
to see you guys in person.
Absolutely. Have
All
a
right.
great week. We'll
Thanks,
do it
bud.
again next
Have a
week.
great evening down there, guys.